And today we have the honor of being joined by Miss Pamela Paige O'Neill, the daughter of a very distinguished baseball icon and one of the greatest pitchers of all time, the legendary Satchel Paige. How are we doing today?
I am well, and thank you for inviting me.
Well, we thank you for accepting our invitation.
Well,
All right,
of course.
today we want to talk about, of course, Satchel Paige and let our audience know who this great man was. More importantly, we want the people to know who was Satchel Paige off the baseball field, and who better to give us some insights than one of the children of Satchel Paige. So my first question, what was it like growing up as a child of Satchel Paige?
Absolutely. You never knew what was going to happen. Each morning when your feet hit the floor, you had assignments and jobs. You had greetings. He had to have his sink of coffee. And then he was the general. We got our orders, our marching orders, and outdoors we went because he was truly an outdoors person. He loved fishing and hunting. And so we'd be in the backyard. He had a wonderful garden. He and my mother worked seriously on that garden. I hated it, but I learned valuable life lessons. My dad was the most humble, kind person you would ever meet off the baseball diamond. He was helpful. He cared about people. He cared about the community. And so our house was the place. There was something going on there every day. He was a big kid because of his childhood and being deprived of things. He embraced us with every known entertainment known to man. So it was in the backyard. And he had girls, but he taught us life skills until he had his son, my brother Robert. He had us doing physical labor. He was no joke, and he was all about education, education, education. So he was a good cook. He was a musician. He was a man of all seasons.
Oh Lord, you say he cooked, boy, man, that would have been best of friends days.
You would have enjoyed his gumbo and his fish, and we had wild game dinners, rabbit mostly, and my mother prepared everything he brought in deliciously. We learned to cook. We learned to be in the moment with him, and there was never a dull moment. You came home from school, you got your homework done, you took your school clothes off, you got your outdoor clothes on, and he had some going on in that backyard. He was never still. His boat motors, he had hunting dogs, beagles, red and blue ticks. We had to clean the dog pens and feed the dogs, and life was really good. We lived in a kinder, gentler time. And so our little world existed where we lived, in the community around us and our family. He was all about family.
So you keep talking about this backyard. How big was this yard, and what?
The backyard was huge. It was huge. He had a previous home as a bachelor on 12th Street. But when he and my mother married and the family started to grow, he bought her a home on 28th Street. And it was probably, I would say, like double lot. I may be wrong, but our backyard was huge because we had a beautiful garden. We had a play area for the children and a 2-car garage and a huge dog pen for his dogs and a resting and shaded area to sit and sip and talk.
So, I mean, what was that experience like? I mean, again, how much did you guys know him as a baseball player?
We did not. You don't in our community, you were a parent. And you came home and he didn't discuss his work. He may have talked to my mother and the elders about it. But as children, he didn't have a conversation with me about how many pitches he threw. He had a conversation about how good I was doing in school. And did I get in the kitchen and help to get dinner ready or breakfast ready? Or did I make sure that the garden was weeded? Or I watched over my younger siblings, took care of them and kept them safe. But as far as him putting a ball in my hand or talking to me about baseball, no, that did not happen. I'm sorry. We had dancing lessons and we had piano lessons, my sister Carolyn. And so we did things that little girls do. And he supported us.
So in those times that he was off playing in the leagues, I mean, what you guys just assume he was just away?
We knew he played ball and we knew he had to play away from home. So we understood that. But he was only a phone call away. And believe it or not, back in the day, if I knew where he was, let's say he was in Tucumcari, I would call on an old fashioned phone. And if I knew the name of the stadium, and we would leave him a message to call home. Uh-huh. Or Western Union would bring us information. And the most important thing, spending money.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure y'all had your heads out a lot, too.
He called home and talked with my mom. Uh-huh. My mom stayed in constant contact with him if she wasn't with him on the road. And she gave us the information that we needed to know. But as little girls, we were happy playing with our dolls and doing things little girls do until when we got older, I say around middle school, my father's career was waning. Mm-hmm. And so he was home more. Mm-hmm. And therefore, we may have heard more conversation about work and ball playing, mm-hmm. but nothing I would say that was serious where we had to sit down and focus and pay attention. We didn't have to do that.
How do you guys reconcile today when you hear the name Satchel Paige and you hear about his accomplishments? I mean, what does that mean to you and your family in this day and time?
My family, all of us, are extremely proud and grateful, mm-hmm. and very happy of what is happening now for all the families who played in the Negro Leagues. We are just kind of shamelessly full of joy. And we go around with these little secret Mona Lisa smiles on our face. Uh-huh. However, long overdue, but we're gracious and glad that it's happened. Better late than never.
And I know on the inside, you know that Satchel Paige family got to poke their chest out a little bit when you mention the name Satchel Paige.
We were raised to be modest, and we understood that everybody's father was great and was mm-hmm. important. So to us was our dad, and he was important to us, but he was not, the exception where we were talking about him or discussing or bragging. That was not allowed.
Now wait a minute.
We were modest and humble.
Come on, we got to boast that chest every now and then.
Maybe my brother did, but I was trying to be in school and be a school teacher when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and on up through high school. So no, that might have not been us. We were very proud, but we were very private.
Now, Major League Baseball just recently included the stats of Negro League Baseball players into their history books. And that elevated Satchel Paige to number 3 as the all-time pitching.
Yes. I'm not sure they're quite finished yet and don't want to speak out of turn, but they're still collecting data. Mm-hmm. So we'll see where he ends up when it is completed.
So, I mean, but that still has to be an honor and accomplishment that...
Oh, my goodness. You have no idea. Mm-hmm. We are extremely, extremely grateful. And the only thing that we are sad about is it didn't happen when he could enjoy it himself and the other players. Mm-hmm. It didn't happen. I think there are probably 3 original players left. And so that might be my only lament, but we are happy for him. And we know he's looking down and he's got a grin from ear to ear on his face. And he's saying, I told you so.
And I mean, do you guys, have any things that's special that Satchel Paige had in his days? Like, archives or uniforms, jerseys, anything that you just?
We have a lot of his personal tees,
Okay.
and we are cataloging them
Mm-hmm.
and preparing for hopefully someday that if the house is completed, we can restore the house because we kept a lot of our family's personal tees.
Mm-hmm.
At each one of us have materials, and so we will collaboratively have them all cataloged, and then we will see after the house, if it's completed, if that comes into fruition, then we can go back and decorate that house just like it used to be when we lived there. How about that?
And how many siblings did Satchel Paige have? Total.
6.
6. A League of Our Own, Independent Developmental Baseball League, is dedicated to promoting diversity in baseball, honoring Satchel Paige legacy, history, and accomplishment by naming one of the teams the Satchel Paige All-Stars, ever invoking his memory in the hearts and minds of past, present, and future generations. So what is your thoughts and feelings about just knowing that there are generations, youngsters, and even guys in the major leagues now that have no idea who Satchel Paige is, nor his legacy or history?
Well, it's important that we keep his legacy alive. My sister started a foundation, Linda, and we are going to work feverishly to keep his legacy moving forward so that children who, especially our urban youth, where baseball used to be their real pastime, we want to reintroduce that to young girls and boys and teach them that the players now are standing on the shoulders of giants and people that came before them. So yes, it's very important to keep his legacy alive. It's very important for children to know something about their ancestors.
And I mean, again, there are generations of African American baseball players that don't know the history of Satchel Paige and or Negro League baseball players that paved that road for them to have this opportunity to be in the major leagues.
And that's true, but these things will be corrected in time. And for those who are avid sports enthusiasts, they do know. For those who do not know, they will know because it will all become public. It will become a public record, and people will be able to read. Some of the information hasn't always been included and discussed. So that might be why some don't know. But now, with this inclusion of their stats, things will be very different.
Okay. Well, now doing some research on Satchel Paige, I come to find out that he was a 6-time All-Star in the Negro Leagues. Satchel Paige helped the Monarchs beat the Homestead Grays, which is a well-known Negro League team, to win the Negro League World Series.
Yes. But these are things that we have to teach our young ones. That's information that has to be shared because it doesn't exist anymore. They only know what's happening in the present.
So Satchel Paige also made his major league debut on July 9th, 1948, at the age of 42.
Yeah, that's the year I was born.
Oh, Lord. You weren't here there to see him make that big league debut?
Nope, I was just a twinkle in his eye.
Uh-oh. But he was also the oldest rookie to ever play in the big leagues, current and present.
Absolutely. Right, at 42 years old.
So he got history that's go forever. We got to make sure that history is known, but it's going to ever live beyond the archives of time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your team, the young teams and the teams that are developed will know this information and they will carry it with them. But it is our job to help them to get this information. And so you're doing it, we're doing it, and it will be talked up more, I'm sure, in the future.
And I guess the thing that really strikes me the most, we had a summer team from Chicago basically at one while all inner city urban team before we came diverse with all different races on the team. But we traveled from Chicago to Florida to Puerto Rico to Kentucky, all over the country. And when they saw people stop, I mean all races, when they stopped and saw that Satchel Paige on our uniform, I heard so many stories about Satchel Paige, how great of a pitcher he was. He was the best pitcher that I ever seen. And again, this was not from colored folks. This was from white people.
Well, these are people that are sports enthusiasts. Mm-hmm. And when you're a sports enthusiast, you're going to want to know the beginning, the middle, and the end of something. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, they were excited to talk about it because they had read about it, but they knew it existed. Mm-hmm. So when you come with your lovely red Satchel Paige All-Stars shirt on.
And more importantly, these were older generation people that had actually seen him play. They were familiar with him on the field.
Well, now I'm always impressed that we have people that are still with us who were able to experience my father in his, what I would call, playing baseball, doing his thing. Mm-hmm. So that always makes us very happy when we meet people because they're telling us things that probably we don't know. Mm-hmm. So we're always happy to speak with. I saw your daddy play and I was 5 and I thought, well, good for you. Tell me more.
So, I mean, and I'm sure he has grandchildren. Do they
appreciate his grandchildren, he was a babysitter. And they did not know for many years that their grandpa was one of the most famous pitchers that ever walked this earth. Mm-hmm. And so quite naturally, as they got older, we had conversations and talked. And then his trophies and his things were in our house. And we would, have what we call little walkthroughs and talk about things. Mm-hmm. And so they, too, have the duty of keeping their grandpa's legacy alive.
Now, according to the history books, on August 9th, 1971, Satchel Paige was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
So what was that experience like for you and the family?
Oh, we were it was just the pinnacle of success for him. Mm-hmm. He was excited. We were excited. Everybody in Kansas City was excited. Everybody that ever knew him was excited. He received so many congratulatory letters and comments. It was an awakening for a lot of people. And I must say he was extremely, extremely proud.
When I interviewed major leaguers, I always, in the course, asked them when they walked in that major league locker room for the first time, what was that feeling like? And once they finished, I asked them, did you cry? Did a tear come down his eye?
I was at home in Kansas City, but I could tell from all of the news and the reports that he was extremely, extremely grateful and proud of his accomplishments and that people finally recognized that and that he had been inducted into the Hall of Fame.
So that means immortalized forever in history as one of the greatest pitchers to ever pitch the game. That's the way I see Satchel Paige.
Oh, you, me, and many, many others.
And to finally have gotten his honor on the highest level and the grand stage that everybody looks forward to, that was one of the greatest accomplishments, I'm sure, of his life.
Well, he would always tell you, let me see, what did I tell you? It's really 7. How many girls? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 girls and 2 boys. That's 7. So that was one of his major accomplishments, his family and his children. Mm-hmm. And Hall of Fame would have been the icing on the cake.
So, what are your thoughts about Satchel Paige, the man?
My dad?
Your dad.
Many, many. So I will be brief. I am blessed to have had him as a father because he developed or helped me to develop to be the woman that I am today. Mm-hmm. And the his life lessons were the most important because they have carried me through these 76 years. And I have had bumps and bruises, but what he would tell us is if you get knocked down, get back up and keep moving forward. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I live my life. Yes, we all have peaks and valleys, and some of us have more valleys than we have peaks. But I remember him saying, don't ever give up. Never give up. Keep moving forward. And so that's what I did. And that's what my brothers and sisters have done. And we are a team of voracious Satchel Paigeites. Trust and believe. We're on it.
And you know, Satchel Paige, he drew crowds. He drew crowds of all racial backgrounds that came in to see this man pitch and entertain them.
I used to refer to him sometimes as a phenomenal human being, mm-hmm. because he worked and pitched under so much pressure. There was a lot of pressure on him, mm-hmm. and he produced and he came through. And so we all get our little trash talking from him too, because when we're all together, we do that and we love it. But he weathered the storm. And we will always be so very proud of that fact that we never saw him down about anything. He always had a little positive quip or something that would be catchy. And you see him with his hands in his back pockets, going outside to do something or tinker with something or get his fishing poles ready. But you never saw him lament. He never had a bad thing to say about any of the situations that presented themselves to him. He always found a way. It was like take lemons and make lemonade. Mm-hmm. Always.
So let me just wrap it up on this note. In football, Jim Brown was considered the greatest football player to ever take the field. In basketball, Wilt Chamberlain. Boxing, Muhammad Ali.
My dad just loved him.
In civil rights movement, Dr. Martin Luther King. And in baseball,
Satchel Paige. Absolutely.
So history, I don't care how you look at it, history will always remember him as one of the greatest African Americans
who ever played the game. Absolutely.
And concluding on Satchel Paige, I gotta just read my little script here. I had to go actually make notes for you, and I'll work off those notes.
Look at there.
Satchel Paige was a right-handed pitcher born on July 7th, 1960 in Mobile, Alabama. And Satchel mm-hmm. Paige was born into eternity on June 8th, 1982 in Kansas City, Missouri, where his final mm-hmm. resting place being Fort Memorial Park. A legend, an icon. I thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to that dedication service.
And my family and I, we thank you for the opportunity of you including us. Can never say too much about our dad.
Well, thank you, and hopefully we'll have another day and time to come back.
All righty.